Alright, hello, welcome to Ben's OP Games. We're recorded live at 8 p.m.-ish Pacific time. Thanks a lot, Game of Thrones. And it is just me currently because Logan and Joel are off. I don't know, maybe they're still in the Battle of Winterfell. It's unknown exactly where the locations are. I believe they're both still alive. I got word from Joel that he is still there, but it remains to be seen if either of them will be joining me today. That's totally fine. The zero people who remember this show from 3 years ago know I did it for a year and a half by myself, and I'll do it again. And that is a threat. Okay. But I mainly want to do the show because there's a lot to talk about. I played way too many different weird games today. I finished this week. I finished Katana Zero. I played maybe 4 or 5 hours of SteamWorld Quest, and I red boxed Days Gone. So we're starting with Days Gone because it's the only one I have footage with, and it's kind of the main gaming du jour, whatever. This game is getting kind of raked through the coals for not very little reason, but there's a hyperbolic reaction to it, and it has issues and stuff like. I don't think any review was super negative, right? No, I don't remember seeing any review that said, "Oh, this is a trash game. Like, I'll just throw this game out. This is a dud." Like, this wasn't a Crackdown 3 situation. This was a 7 out of 10 situation, and I think that's fine. Like, there's room to have an unpolished game. I think the fact that this game took so long to come out should have kind of tipped people off that something was up. The embargo being a day before is another tried and true tip off for something being potentially up with this, with any game really. But I think this game is actually pretty good, and I think a lot of people would like it if they gave it a shot. Now, this all being said, I red boxed the game. I'm maybe 10 hours in. I haven't even upgraded the bike, and right now I'm driving back to that area because I just went to another spot on the map and did a bunch of quests, and I realized, my bike is still garbage. I should probably look into, fixing it up. It has one wheel, it's not a good bike. It's a terrible bike. But I think this game gets knocked for some things that Red Dead 2 did, but Red Dead didn't get knocked for them. Kind of the super air quotes realistic stuff that this game does, where you can't just go off jumps with your bike, it's gonna break, is exactly what you do in Red Dead. You can't just jump off shit in your horse and expect your horse not to face plant, and then your horse dies. You know what I mean? You need to deal with gasoline because you do. That's what a motorcycle runs on now. Does it run out of gas in 5 seconds in real life? I would imagine not. But I kind of like those elements, and they're not super difficult. They're all pretty manageable, right? You don't have to deal with too many things. It's damage to the bike, which is easily fixable, easily avoidable for the most part too, even with my unupgraded bike. And the gasoline is kind of all over the place if you just go and stop, and it does have a fun element of, all right, there's a guy over here, I need to get gas. Let me see if I can distract him, throw a rock, and let me get the gas and then run over there and do it. It's a little annoying and frustrating sometimes, but it's also, after you've done a couple of quests, it's not that expensive just to buy the gasoline, which I've done a couple times, because you just get a ton of money, and because I have not upgraded my bike and I don't know what money's for, I'm like, yeah, sure, look at $10,000, let's go, let's buy some gas. And that's fine. But there are other kind of super realism things that I think it does. And I say realism in like air quotes around air quotes that Red Dead got away with. But people in the aftermath of the positivity of Red Dead were kind of like, Red Dead didn't really enjoy it. This kind of falls into some of that. But maybe we'll just skip that entirely. Or come back to it really. I really, really enjoyed this game quite a bit. And at this point, I can say that if I had bought this and I'd play, obviously if I had bought it, I would have, I'd like, I guess I have to play it now, right? I would have played it. I would have played the same amount I've played so far, probably a little more. And I would have come to that conclusion that I really, really like this game, in spite of a lot of its issues and faults. It's very particular in the terms of who's really gonna love this game. I don't know if that's a lot of people, and I think that's really reflective in the review scores. A funny thing though, if you go to Metacritic and you look at the user reviews, a lot of them are positive, which is a little surprising to me. A lot of them are very positive, and it was surprising to me, but then I played more of the game, like, oh no, this is actually a really fun game. It's just rough around the edges, and it does things well, but it doesn't do anything super spectacular with any of it. But what I love about it is just that moment to moment wandering through the open world, finding a building, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna look at this gas station, and I'm gonna go in there and loot it, route the zombies, kill them, whatever, burn their nests, and then move on. And I really like that gameplay loop that it has. It reminds me a lot of The Last of Us. Shocking. Because you are crafting on the side as you're gathering all this shit, and you're managing a bunch of different materials, a bunch of different things you can craft, and I like that. I like dealing with the zombies. I like its whole setup with that. It reminds me, a lot of this game reminds me of that part in The Last of Us where, where were you? You're like in a neighborhood. It's right after the Ishmael stuff, and you're going through the streets, this just residential neighborhood, and you have to shoot a bunch of guys and go up the street and then go back the street, and you're exploring all the houses. But this game, since it's an open world, there's a lot more funny little houses to go into and explore and see what's up with them, and I really, really like that. It's not... It's weird, though, because it does have issues, and I think finding all the crafting stuff is one of the issues. I'm constantly, even an hour in, like, oh, I have all the materials. Like, I can't pick up any more materials to make bandages. I've made all the bandages I can, and I just have to leave this material here. It does that thing where I don't know exactly who isn't looting that much. Maybe there are people who do play these games that don't loot that much, where you end up... Because I'll have 5 bandages crafted, and I will have the max amount of bandage materials almost at all times. And I'll get hit in the face with a twig and be like, oh, well, let me just use this bandage because I found one on the floor over here. And I don't necessarily... I like that. I think it's fun to be super over-prepared, but it was so easy just to become over-prepared and have material everywhere. There's this there's this scrap, and you can carry 10 scrap, and you cannot carry any more than 10. And I found you get it like on a table or in a car engine. It's just scrap. You make crossbow bolts with it, and you repair your bike with it, and you can repair your melee weapons with it if you unlock the skill, which I did. So you can only carry 10 of them. So that means, oh, I found 4 scrap in this area. Well, let me just repair this. Let me make some arrows. Let me repair my bike. Oh, let me pick up the scrap. And I like that. It just feels really weird in the sense of, why didn't you just design where I can carry more scrap? Because now I'm just using it like a weirdo. I would have been doing this anyway, so I don't understand why I can't just hold more. And there's a skill for holding more stuff, but it's deep down the crafting tree. That's when you do an open world game, one of the first things I always look for in the perk tree is being able to carry more shit. And that one's way down the line, unfortunately. And I guess since I touched on the perk tree, I'm not in love with it. It's fine. The stuff in there seems interesting, but it's not a lot. Like, oh, I can't wait to get that. There's the one ability where he does like his little focus detective vision nonsense, which I guess he's Batman. I don't know. Maybe that's canon. And it will let you see through walls, enemies, not see through walls. It'll let you see enemies wherever they are now if I get that upgrade. And so I didn't realize it was there. Now I'm targeting that upgrade because that'll be super beneficial, because as I'm going through these large, very interesting to me environments, different buildings and, oh, let me go into that gas station. Oh, this is a hotel. Let me go into it. And there's nothing particularly unique or overly amazing or whatever about this hotel, but it's fun to go in there and sneak around and loot it and try to not get seen by that zombie or this zombie. And that's kind of the problem with these freakers, is that they're everywhere, and I have to use all my materials to fight them, but I don't necessarily want to some of these times, and they can be kind of just in the way. I almost feel like the game should have been only freakers, only freaker hordes rather, instead of just freakers. Like seeing them, and I've only seen a group of like 60 or 70, which was horrifying. At one point I turned around, I knew there was a horde in the area, but I turned around, and then I saw just a mass of them coming at me. It was one of the scariest moments I've had in a video game in a long, long time, because you just, oh no, just run, just book it, and I died. It just overcame me, and it was really cool to see that. It's unlike anything else, and I think that horde idea, it should have just been those giant hordes, and even that group, which was maybe 100 max, probably closer to 60, right? I think having groups like that would have been more interesting. Or this is a group of 20. But I'll get into these little areas and like, oh, there's a gas station and there's 2 houses here and there's a little hotel right here, all in this one little area. And there will be 3 zombies per little thing. And then there'll be 5 nests in the area. And it's just kind of annoying when there's so many of them there, and then as soon as one sees you, they just kind of all see you. I'm not huge into that. I think I could have done with fewer zombies, but more hordes. Like, honestly, so this is one of the main things you do in the open world, or I guess common things you do, is get rid of these freaker nests. So you get into an area that's infested, and I guess that's why there's zombies there, Ben. It's fucking infested. Pay attention. The game told you. Fine. And it'll be 4, maybe 5 nests, these freaker nests, and you throw a Molotov in there, which is another thing I always have enough materials for, and I craft immediately and then pick up a bottle and etc. The game is very liberal with what it gives you, but you just can't carry that much. So you're going after these freaker nests, right? And there's just dudes in the area anyway. I throw a Molotov, it does its thing, it burns the nest, a bunch of dudes come out of the nest. Makes total sense, right? And then I repeat that 3 other times because there's 4 nests in that area, and it's just kind of going through the motions. It's a little obnoxious. I would rather it have been, hey, there's a nest in this hotel, and you know there's one nest, and you know as soon as you set it off on fire, there's gonna be 40 zombies that come out of it. And so you go into that hotel and you spend all your crafting materials and all the stuff you've looted along the way to place traps outside. Like, there are bear traps and tripwires and things in the game. So if you could do that, set up the whole hotel where they're all going to run out. It's going to be a crazy horde and you don't want to deal with all of them, but you set up a bunch of traps. You could set up tripwires that drops a grenade. Maybe you're standing outside on the roof with a shotgun and you have an exit plan, so you jump off the roof and then they have to go down the stairs. And I think that would be more fun if I was preparing and setting up a defensive for something instead of just, here's 4 dudes that run out of a thing. And that's it for these freaker nests. Are you there, Joel? Miley pretends to be here. That would be more interesting. It would remind me, if it did that, it would remind me a lot of Bioshock 1 and Bioshock 2 actually had that sequences where you would set up your defenses. As it stands, I can't even make defensive stuff yet in the game, so maybe stuff like that does happen. But you have this horde technology. I think it'd be really cool to use it in that freaker nest situation instead of burning 4 garbage fires. I'm burning 1 giant one, and it's an actual interesting fight. You're here, Joel. Are you here now? Can I hear you?
I have arrived.
Okay, good. You have arrived. Perfect. I'm just talking about Days Gone.
Cool.
Which I've played about 10 hours of.
Oh, you put in more time.
Oh yeah, I really like the game.
I'm glad to hear that.
If I had, because I was this close to pre-ordering it, if I had pre-ordered it, I would not be disappointed.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to know? Because I don't want to redouble back a lot of the points that I already kind of said.
No, I mean, I know I already kind of, just from reviews and from what I've seen of the game being played,
Yeah.
I already know what I want to know about the game. I just wanted to hear from somebody's opinion that I trust, like who's playing the game, who's enjoying it, like, because all these other people that are playing, that are reviewing it, they're kind of playing a ton of these types of games, but putting a lot more time into it.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe there's burnout there, or they're comparing it to so many other top tier titles.
Yeah.
Where I just want to hear, like, the game itself. Is it fun to play? Is it, even though it's not this 10 out of 10, is it still something that I should play, eventually or whenever?
I think.
I just don't want to ignore it.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely worth picking up. I don't know if that. I would say $40 is a fair price, for sure. It's a really fun game. It's messy around the edges. Moments of it feel like kind of a less complex Metal Gear Solid 5. Because you'll see in this situation on the screen right now, I can scout the area. I just drove in there like an idiot with my motorcycle, but I could scout the area, see what they're doing, use my different tactics, go around the back and hide in the bushes, and I could even try and get freakers involved because there is bait. I could try and lure them there. I had one encounter where just wolves were in the area, and they're zombie wolves. And they started fighting the people I was fighting, so I used them as a distraction to sneak around the back. And there's a lot of kind of emergent situations with these freakers that I think are really cool. And especially if you liked The Last of Us, there's a lot to appreciate here. It kind of feels like open world, less polished The Last of Us.
Okay.
It just,
I can kind of see that just from the gameplay. Like,
yeah, just from the setting, and then the gathering of materials, and the kind of constantly on the lookout feeling of it. I like the setting a lot. It's kind of what I liked about Red Dead as well, is the setting is not. I like the real world. Not that Greece and Egypt don't exist, Assassin's Creed, but this is a real setting, and it feels relatable to someone who has lived in the Northwest. I like that. I like exploring that. I like seeing all the nature. I like seeing the weird caves and the waterfalls, because it feels like places I've actually been, and that's really cool to me. Just for a lack of a better way to describe it, it's just interesting to see something I have seen before. Kind of. I don't think I've been to Bend, Oregon, but whatever. It's irrelevant. I've been in a forest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been on a nature hike in an area like this, and that's really cool. And I love the setting. I love The Last of Us. I like that gameplay. I think it works really well. It's just kind of rough. The story isn't great.
Are the biggest issues with it are the story mainly, or is it maybe just not enough variety in the gameplay parts of it, or is this something that could be fixed through patches or DLC? What are your main thoughts about that?
So the biggest, the glaring issue to me is the story. I like it, and I like a lot of the science stuff. They kind of dive into what actually happened, and there's people trying to do tests on these ghouls and whatever. That's really interesting. But a lot of the stuff with Sarah, I think is her name. I'm bad at names. I remember Boomer, Booster, whatever I don't remember his name. I hate him. It's a dumb name. Your wife, Deacon's wife. A lot of those cutscenes, I appreciate the heart and where they're going and what they're trying to do. It's just, could we get another pass on this dialogue? Can we maybe rewrite some of this? It's just loosey and weird, and it'll do things in cutscenes where it fades out, and you're like, okay, it's skipping a couple minutes ahead, and then it'll fade back in, and it's just like them at the same spot. I'm like, why? What was the fade out for? What even happened? It's rough that way. I think if you don't enjoy looting, if the idea of seeing a hotel in the distance and wanting to loot it just because and explore it because it's like an interesting environment, if that doesn't appeal to you, this is not a game for you.
Okay.
Like what?
Now, as someone like me who doesn't like, I like story for the most part. Like, I like main story parts of games, but like, I don't put a ton of like eggs in that basket as far as my opinion on a game. Um, do you think that's maybe a part of the game that I will just look over and still think it's really good for that reason?
I think you could ignore it. It's not that it's bad. It's just like, oh, it's okay, and it's told interestingly, but it's not that interesting. Or maybe the other way around. It is interesting, but it's not told interestingly. That's what it is. And I like the zombie plotline. And I like how it's laid out non-linearly, where there's a bunch of different plot lines going on. And I'm finding stuff about his past, and then I'm finding stuff about this encampment and the zombie outbreak and this other thing, and I found a girl and I rescued her, and she knew this other person, and we're following that thread for a little bit, and how it gives you quests and like leads you through the map feels fairly natural, and there's always something else to do, and I'll go over there and do it, and that mission is not necessarily the same as the other mission, but at the end of the day it actually is. It's just in a new location, and I'm killing this guy, or I'm going and finding the thing. So it's very well done, and it feels very good. Look at the game. It looks like The Last of Us in an open world, and I think that is worth it for a lot of people. Honestly, it's pretty cool. And the hordes, you weren't here for when I was talking about the hordes. The hordes are horrifying. It really is a spooky thing to see. They look like water, just like this mass of like Jello people. It's creepy. I was saying, I turned around one time. I knew a horde was in the area. I turned around and it was behind me, running towards me, and it was just like, nope, get out of there, and I died. But it was unlike anything I've really seen in a game in a really cool way, and I almost wish there were only hordes and everything else was just a human, because that would be fascinating just to see.
I mean, now I definitely want to try it.
Do the red box thing. That's what I did, man.
I think I will. Yeah, I think I will.
At this point, I'll play through it. With the red box, and then I'll just get it because this game's gonna be cheap. Unfortunately, it's got a bum deal, and it's gonna be cheaper later. As to kind of the one question you said, where could it be fixed? I've noticed a few things change already in some patches. Like, one of the reviews mentioned that your bike can break in the middle of story stuff, and then you have to deal with that or you'll fail. It seems to me, and I'm not exactly sure because I haven't replayed the game, but it seems to me a lot of these situations where your bike could break in a story sequence, it no longer can. I've started every story mission I did today, which was after a new patch that came out today. I've noticed only one of those did I lose gas or have damage on the bike. So they might have patched that out, at least in certain instances.
How's weapon durability? Like, is that a little too, like...
The weapons themselves, like the pistols and stuff, don't break. It's just the melee weapon, and you can only have... Well, you have your knife always, but then you have another one. And there's a skill you can get really early on that lets you use scrap to repair the weapon you have. And so I got a pretty good weapon, and I've just kept it, and I keep repairing it. There's a bunch of scrap all over the place, so you really don't have to worry about it that much. You can only carry 10 scrap anyway, so if you're looting, you're gonna find a bunch. The game does a really, maybe too good a job of making sure you have shit. And if you're thorough and like combing through buildings like I do, I'm just full. Like, everything is full. I can make all the Molotovs, I can make all the Band-Aids, I just do whatever. But I like looting. I like going into that, like Fallout, I like seeing the next building, going into it, what's cool in here? Okay, I don't know. Finding this nonsense, finding that nonsense, and leaving. And it's just like, there's no purpose, right? Yeah. But it's enjoyable, and there's a lot of that in this game. And I don't think I think it's getting a bad rap for stuff that really it wasn't trying to be these other games it's being compared to. And I think some of the things that are wrong with it aren't really that big of issues. And I made this point way at the beginning. Some of the complaints against this game are the same as complaints against Red Dead, but no one cared at the time about
Yeah.
Red Dead, because like the bike durability and stuff, and I can't jump off cliffs with the bike. Like, no, you can't.
No, you can't. That's weird.
That's fucking bicycle.
To me, it almost seems like everybody that said they weren't expecting, like they had lowered expectations about this game,
yeah,
still judged it harshly, like they had high expectations for the game.
yeah,
Just some of the critiques that I've seen out there, like if you had lower expectations, you shouldn't be surprised that some of the things weren't perfect or some of the things were rough,
Yeah.
because that's, you already in a way expected that. But I think the idea that a Sony, first party or second party title would come out and not be a 9 out of 10 is kind of shocking to people. So I don't think they were ready for that.
yeah. Well, and the thing too, so I played 10 hours. I thought the first couple hours were pretty good, but now I'm hitting a stride and I'm really enjoying it. There's only one big negative that I explored this whole area, and then I got a quest that told me to go back there, and then there are a bunch of people there again. I'm like, God damn it. So stuff like that always pisses me off with open world games. Like, I just was here. I don't know why. Like, why I have to go back here again. But besides that, I'm liking the game more and more the more I play it. And I can't wait to get the next... There's a skill I'm trying to get in the skill tree. And I'm not constantly leveling up. I think I'm level 5 or so. And I played 10 hours of it. It's a slow burn in that way. And I kind of like that. I kind of like its slow, quietness. It's in your face about, hey, you leveled up. Big old thing on the screen. Like, phew, experience points. But it kind of doesn't dole it out super quickly. Like, if you remember Assassin's Creed, like, you beat a mainline quest, you're leveling up, right? In this game, you do a quest and it's like a quarter of the bar, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, it's a slower experience, and I like that. I like this. I mean, I liked Red Dead. That's a slow ass game, so
Yeah.
there's always that. I think
it's definitely a game I still want to check out, and I'll just have to wait for the right moment. I plan on I've got a few games in mind that I'm planning on purchasing before this.
Yeah.
That I definitely want to check out, but I mean, it still looks really fun to me, and it still looks like a game I'm going to totally get a kick out of.
Yeah. And I wonder...
I've never been one to shy away from sevens.
Yeah, right. One of my favorite games of all time got a 5 on IGN, so whatever. Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The thing I hear a lot of people say about it is that it's too long, like its story takes too long and all that. So I don't know if it just becomes a slog, or I don't know if things change as I keep playing the game. I feel like I understand all the mechanics already. I have all the loot I need. You know what I mean? Like, I've come into my ways with the game. I'm not gonna change the way I play it unless something crazy happens. And I haven't even bought weapons or upgraded the bike or anything yet. So I think there's
some of the other things I've heard about it is that it gets better the more you play.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm experiencing.
The deeper you are into the game, it actually shows more of like a better, I guess, version of itself.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. A lot of open worlds kind of have that problem.
Yeah.
Air quote problem. But I've really liked it. I mean, it's definitely more enjoyable than I thought it was gonna be. I almost regret redboxing it, and I was this close to just buying it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think I would have really liked it, and I would have been totally fine spending $60 on it, because there's a lot of content here. It's fun to loot shit. It's fun to play an open world survival, post-apocalyptic game that doesn't have shitty controls and feels a little modern. Fallout.
Yeah.
It's a good game. In conclusion.
I'm excited. I'm still excited for it. I wish... I kind of hate that it got bad reviews for the most part, and it's not as good as I was hoping for it to be, because that was definitely one of the ones I was ready to throw down some money on. But I like knowing that it's still worth playing and that it's something I could totally wait on.
Yeah, I think Sony was surprised at the scores overall.
Yeah, I mean they had plenty of time for this game too. So
Yeah, you
I
gotta
wonder if it was in much worse in a much worse state, and then this is as good as they could get it.
Well, remember they delayed it like 2 months out of February because, and they were like, "Oh, we're just gonna polish it more," and this went gold forever ago. It feels like.
Yeah.
I just think whoever tested it, mock reviewed it, liked it more than this, and it kind of ended up being like, oh, this is a big surprise that we knew it wasn't a 10. But we didn't know it's going to get a 5 on GameSpot or whatever. I think they gave it a 5.
Yeah.
And I do kind of agree with a lot of its... If you're coming in for the story, it's told very interestingly, but it's not a very... It's weird. It's such a strange story to me. Because I like it, but it's just kind of not good. It's not the Last of Us story. It is an open world story. And that's fine.
That's fine.
Logan, are you here?
Yes, I am.
This is like the Avengers. Everyone comes in halfway through the movie.
I know.
Well, spoiler.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no spoilers.
That's
No
okay.
spoilers.
That's okay. I
That's
expected it.
literally not a spoiler because it doesn't even make sense. You'll see when you see the movie.
That's like every Avengers movie.
And guess what? They assemble. Dun, dun.
I forgot what I was gonna say. But
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think what else is coming out in the next couple months that has maybe as much hype as this?
Rage 2. But no one's hyped for Rage 2 except for me and Logan.
Yeah.
I'm
really excited for that one.
I'm so excited.
I requested it for the Game Fanatics.
Oh, good idea. We'll see if that... I don't think Bethesda... They don't give out stuff anyway, so...
Yeah, they're very picky.
Hey, I still requested it. That means I'm still hyped.
Fair.
I'm still
And I
hyped.
bought the original one a long time ago when it first launched. So how dare you?
Yeah, Rage 2 is just a couple weeks away.
Just like 15, 16 days away.
Yeah.
It's just weird, like, because a lot of the game releases for this year were so kind of like just not
Close.
not set in stone too. Like a lot of them were either delayed or just not really talking about like when they're coming out officially. So
Right.
I still it's almost like a month by month basis of what's coming out because you don't really know for the most part what's coming out besides certain titles.
I feel like there's not a lot. For the rest of the year, it's a lot of question marks except for a couple Nintendo things.
Summer seems to be pretty light as of right now. I mean, there's a couple of releases we're looking forward to, like Mario Maker and stuff, but there's really not a lot out there
No.
set. I mean, we got E3, so we'll see what sets the stone for the
Yeah, for the rest
fall
of the
and
year.
the winter.
Yeah, I think hopefully we'll get a lot of surprises for the fall.
I hope so. I hope so.
I feel like it's pretty obvious this is the year before the next gen. Because it's just kind of nothing's going on.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah, Nintendo's keeping up the pace, but like Sony and Microsoft, they're kind of slowing it down. They're kind of chilling out, and we're gonna see what they got in store for us here in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Logan,
Man,
is there any...
for anybody watching live that is wanting to avoid spoilers for Game of Thrones, Twitter is they don't give a fuck right now. They are just spoilers left and right. Like
Game
wow.
of Thrones is like you have to watch it either the night of or you're gonna get spoiled.
Yeah, it's nothing like
I've gone
Endgame.
through
Like,
Avengers.
Endgame.
Yeah, I've gone through Avengers with only like a couple small things spoiled, but that was a lot easier than Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is a lot harder. I feel like,
There,
I don't
dude,
know.
it's just as harsh as the show. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben, you were
It's
gonna ask me something.
Yeah, is there anything you wanted to know about Days Gone before we wrap up Days Gone?
Yeah. Yeah, I watched you play a little bit of it. I watched a little bit of like the first 30, 45 minutes, just a video of it just to get a feel for it.
Mhm.
And just watching the footage, it started off to me like not playing it, but just watching it. It started off pretty generic, nothing that's like really stood out.
Yeah.
But as as it progressed and like watching you progress, it got more interesting. The more stuff you could do, the more weapons and items you could craft, and like just the locations and the enemy types and what they would do and stuff like that. as the game progressed, it got more interesting. And I'm curious, like, was that in your experience? Is that like, how is the story as it progressed? Because it kind of was like, at the beginning.
Yeah,
But like, how did that rest of it go?
it's
Did you play
definitely
more?
it's definitely the first, I don't know, 45 minutes is like, okay, this is really rough, guys.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's trying to figure out like what to show you. The story is being vague and weird for kind of just narrative reveal moments sometimes. Like she starts out, your wife is stabbed at the very beginning. And then a couple hours later you get the story cutscene that reveals why she was stabbed, or how, I guess, how she was stabbed. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there going, I think you could have just showed us the whole thing. I don't understand why you didn't do this, but whatever. The story, I kind of said this to Joel too, like the story is a mess. It needs another writing pass. A lot of the dialogue just feels a little weird. The cutscenes will fade in and out for no reason. I like what it's telling, and I like what it's trying to tell. I just don't think it's telling it super well, but I like what it's doing. And I especially like what it's doing with the little, I forget what they're called, like the Halo people, but they're CDC basically, and they're going out and doing studies and tests on the freakers to figure out something. And I like that whole angle, especially in zombie fiction where we really don't get that at all.
Yeah, that's true.
I like that. It definitely starts out slow mechanically, but as you start figuring out how it's all, like how it works with the bike, how it works with stealth, and you unlock different skills, it really does start opening up, and I've really enjoyed it. I really, really, really like the game so far. Just nothing amazing, but it has that fun, let me go loot that building kind of loop that I enjoy. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, it doesn't bring anything like spectacular and like special or unique to the table. It's just kind of a generic open world third person adventure game with zombies, which is, more or less overdone.
Yeah, it feels, if this, as a lot of people have said this, if this game had come out a couple of years ago, it would have been better. Like, just the same exact game, simply because of zombie fatigue and for open world games that have gotten better in the years since.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I really liked it. I'm super happy. I almost forgot to go to Redbox and try and pick it up. Like I was like, oh shit, let me go do that. And I'm so glad I did. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm definitely gonna pick it up later when it goes on sale and finish the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is something, like, I haven't done that yet for Kingdom Hearts 3, and I really liked that. You know what I mean? So this has something. I really do like the setting. It is The Last of Us if it was open world and if it was unpolished. That's kind of the whole pitch for it to me.
Yeah.
So would you have liked them to like spend another year fixing up the writing, maybe polish it a little more, or it's already long overdue? This is what we get.
Nah,
it's
just
fine.
push it out. It's fine. The writing's not bad. It's just like, really? And then that's where it shows a lot of its lack of polish. Especially once you get God of War with the no cuts and stuff, and everyone's motion captured. This is clearly not motion capture for everything. The lip syncing's not great. It just looks a little dated in that aspect. And that's fine. I would have played this game with like no story except for the CDC stuff, and I've been fine with the story. You know what I mean? You could have stripped a lot of it out. And I think perhaps maybe that would have been better with all these weird GIFs you see going around, or stills. I guess they're just stills of like some of the scenes. But whatever. I think they had to put it out. You can't keep delaying it and get in the way of The Last of Us 2, because this is going to look real bad, most likely, next to The Last of Us. So
and it could also be that certain things based on mock reviews were just something they could not fix on their budget and with the time that they had.
Yeah, I think it's a very solid game, but it's another game like Red Dead where it kind of wants you to play it the way it wants you to play it, and it's not Assassin's Creed Odyssey where you're jumping off of buildings and you have a Pegasus and you're doing all this shit. Like it is a more focused, more designed experience. It wants you to play it that way. It does not want you to be fancy fun man flying around.
Fancy fun, man.
And that's a different. And then I like Sekiro and Red Dead, which are games that want you to play them the way they want to be played. So if you don't like that, you might not like this. Although this isn't as rigid as either of those games. Certainly easier than both of those games, probably.
All right.
I think we
interesting.
close the book on Days Gone.
Close that door.
That's funny about the doors in this game. They shut when you're not looking, and you'll come back around and be like, "Why is this door? Who shut this door?" I don't know why, but that's a really funny thing that keeps happening. Who shut this door?
It's just the zombies walking around like, hey, he's not.
It's for. I know actually why. It's for loading. Because if you can see through the building, you might be able to. It might load too much stuff and it'll slow down the game. So if you shut the doors, it doesn't have to load as much when you're looking around.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's totally why. That's just how the engine works. Because Unreal's every engine where you're seeing is what it renders. So if you close the door, you're not seeing it. That's how that works.
Right. All right.
Do you care about SteamWorld Quest?
I do.
What do you mean by care?
I've heard
I'm
some cool
interested
stuff
in
about it.
Okay.
Tell me a little.
Because I'm just talking the whole fucking time.
I know. I mean, the only thing I could talk about is like the finishing Katana Zero, and I think you did too. So.
Yeah, we could do that in a second. I'll do real quick SteamWorld Quest. I played like 4 hours of it.
Okay.
It's a turn-based RPG with cards, and I really love those. I wish it was a little more complex, but it's kind of getting there. Essentially, you're dealt 6 cards, and so you have 3 characters. Each character has their own 8 deck of cards that are then all shuffled together to the 6 that you pick 3 of each turn. Okay?
Okay.
That's how it works. Now, if you pick 3 cards of the same character in a row, or your full turn is that character, it triggers a special move for that character. And that varies depending on the weapon they have equipped as well. So the one mage girl, I do 3 things with her, and then I get a shield boost. Not a shield, like a additional HP on top of your normal HP that's a buffer. A barrier type of thing. And that's her special move. And the other guy, or I guess it's a girl, they're robots. I don't know why they're gendered. It's confusing. It's weird. So she's the
writing.
The swords person. She'll do another super move. And this other frog looking robot guy, he does it heals you a little bit and then it raises your defense. And there's a lot of stats and things like that where you can raise your attack, raise your defense, multiple levels, and different cards have different effects where I'll deal this card, it'll raise my attack, then I'll do that attack, then I'll do this other thing with the other character, so you're kind of managing a lot of stuff, and the battles can kind of sometimes take a while, but there's not a ton of them to get through an area, so it makes a lot of sense, and I've really enjoyed it. It's kind of it starts out pretty easy and linear, and then you go to these caves and it starts spiraling out into different levels of the cave, and you're exploring, getting new cards, and I got my 4th party member finally, so I switched him in, and he's really cool where so each attack you do builds up a steam gauge, and just normal attacks generate 1 steam essentially, and the special moves use the steam. So you have to do normal attacks to build up to do the other special moves that are also in your deck. So you're constantly managing, like, I need 2 steam to heal, so let me attack, and then pick that card and heal that character. Or I can use 2 steam to do this other attack, and I need 4 to do that, or this attack does more damage if someone else, a particular person, does this thing right before it. There's a lot of stuff like that going on, and I really like that. But this new guy I got, he did one of his attacks, depending on how many points of steam you've accumulated and not used, he'll just hit for like 20 times. Just go whack, 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 whack. I love him. So awesome. And he's like this ninja guy with masks. So he'll do different special moves and he'll change the mask he's wearing. And one of them gives him a healing boost. One of them damages him but raises his crits. It's really cool stuff. I really like. I supposedly it's like 20 hours, but it's been a lot of fun. It's a little expensive. It's $25. I think it's a little high. But I don't know. Maybe it's a longer game, and it seems very well made. It's a very fun game. I'll probably have more on that later, but I really like it. Really enjoying it.
Good.
It's fun
Good.
to play something on my Switch.
I do want to. Yeah. I want to pick it up at some point.
Yeah, as a big Kaitos fan, I have to play any card game like that.
Especially card RPG game.
Oh yeah, it's not as complex as Kaitos, but maybe it gets more complex because I wish the decks for each character were larger and stuff like that. But what can you do, right?
Yeah. I listened to the Giant Beast cast, and they had a pretty long portion where they talked about SteamWorld Quest and then other card games.
Yeah.
And it made me want to fire up a Yu-Gi-Oh card game and just play that.
Oh yeah, I was talking to someone at work about the Pokemon trading card game that they made on Game Boy Color.
Oh yeah, I remember
It's
that.
It's like I want that shit. I want the Pokemon to be an RPG where I just play cards with other people.
Right?
That would be so good.
Great.
The problem with card games nowadays, it's just at a certain point they're just pay to win, and it's just no fun because I hate when games get so not meta, but to the point where it's if you don't have a certain card,
Oh yeah, the
then
meta.
you're instantly losing against everybody else. And then we talked about that with Hearthstone at a certain point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I look because I used to love playing card games, but now for games like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon, and there's just so many damn cards now that it's hard to keep up with it.
Yeah.
But also they're just a lot of those because they're free to play games. They're just pay to win, basically.
Unfortunately, yeah. That's why PVE, man. PVE.
PvE. Yeah. There's still that.
Yeah, there's still that.
I was listening. So in that same episode, so you guys know who Austin Walker is? He writes for Waypoint.
I've heard the name.
Uh-huh.
So he's a writer for Waypoint, and he used to be part of Giant Bomb, and he was a guest on their podcast this week. And that guy, so he was talking about Dragon's Dogma and about being encumbered in some games, and how he loves that part of certain games because at a certain point you're okay, now it's like a strategy game all of a sudden with my inventory, and I got to decide if this item is worth keeping, or how much can I sell it for. He's talking about how Fallout has, the cigarette cartons that, at a certain point, you're trying to filter out certain things out of your inventory to keep things that are worth the most that you can go and sell it for caps. He had this weird speech about encumbered being this game mechanic that I usually really hate, but now I'm excited to come across it in games. He totally sold me on it.
Huh.
And you kind of do the same thing when you were talking about I forgot, it was just earlier today too, or earlier in this podcast
with Days
We were talking
Gone?
about something Days Gone, yeah, something in Days Gone that you were talking about that instantly made me feel that way. I'm I think he just sold me on that part of the game that I'm not gonna like.
Yeah, there's Days Gone. I could see that because there's some weird mechanics with the equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah, I
it's a good
think
game.
that's what you're talking about. Anyways, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Katana Zero in a conversation that I'll remember.
Okay.
So Logan,
That's me.
that's you. This is a really, really solid game that I think I'm going to forget about by the time we get to the end of the year, unfortunately.
Yeah. That's fair. Just because of how short it is. It's not a
Yeah.
very long game. 4 or 5 hours. Unless you're terrible like me, maybe 6 or 7. But you're right. It will be forgettable just because at the end of the day, because it was so short and it didn't really, nothing crazy spectacular stood out to it. So,
Yeah.
it was kind of like an in-between game. It was just kind of I'm going to play this because I don't have anything else, or I want to take a break from some other things.
And it's
I actually
definitely
had to take breaks from it.
yeah, it's definitely a really good game. But yeah, it's kind of oh, I did that and that was cool. It's not something like The Messenger where God, that was so good. I was so enamored with that game. even something like Guacamelee 2, which I don't think was as good, but still a very good game. This was solid. This is really cool. I like its story. The story is like set up for another game. Like the entire story is basically just set up for something else that you never get to see, which I appreciate, but also like, okay, fine, whatever.
Right.
It's just a lot of world building. It feels like you're playing the prequel, but the sequel hasn't
Almost, yeah.
come out, so you don't care as much.
And that's really what carries the game. Like, you get the gameplay mechanics down, and that's in the first couple parts, and then the story, because it's so mysterious, and the world building and just the world itself is really interesting. And I think that's what kept me really going, even when it got really difficult in that last like quarter of the game. It was just this like difficulty spike.
Oh yeah.
And I remember telling you about that, and I was like, this is insane. Like, I can't believe how much harder it got in such a short instance.
Yeah, some of the final rooms, and especially like the final boss, it's just, wow, this came out of nowhere and is doing things nothing else in the game did. I'm unprepared for any of this. It was cool, and it wasn't super difficult to where I couldn't get past it, but it was out of nowhere. And especially some of those rooms,
very
like
challenging.
The ending sequence is really cool, like the elevator sequence. That's super awesome. But man, some of the level right before that level, Jesus, some of those rooms, just like, fuck. I know you didn't play.
Well, I think it's because they were so long. They're so big that this is a one death game. If you die, then you restart the whole section of the level. So
and that was
and they're long.
I know you didn't play Hotline Miami, but if a lot of the criticisms of Hotline Miami 2 is that they made the levels too big. And that totally holds up with this Katana Zero shit, where some of those levels, I mean, it was awesome when you did it. There's that one with the lasers on the bottom that you can turn off and on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was 30 minutes of your life. But it was so cool when you were able to do it and throw that weapon and trick that guy into the thing and slash that up there. But getting there, I don't know if it was worth it. I would have rather had more levels that were easier than this amount of levels than they were difficult. Especially when sometimes you want to drop down on someone and you like slash next to them and they just like shoot you. Like, oh, you're dead now.
Yeah. Going back to those control issues that we talked about last week.
Yeah.
They were still prevalent like throughout the end of the game. And like, so some of the sword swings, like I'm in the slow motion, like I swing and then like it won't let me do another one, and it was like frustrating the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Like I'm so thankful I played this on my Switch, so I can easily just press that power button on the top and just set it down and like take a breather, because I did that plenty of times. Like I was like, I'm gonna throw my fucking Switch if
and it really
I continue trying.
It really does just come out of nowhere, this difficult. It's slowly ramping, and then, whoa, what is happening? It gets intense.
No, I got through that first three quarters of it in like a day, and then it took me like 3 days to finish the last part.
Yeah. And there's this one part, I won't spoil, but there's a part where you have other abilities. You know what I'm talking about? In the prison?
Yes.
Where you have other moves and stuff you can do, and they do it just for the one level. And God, that would have been so cool if that was another level later on, or if there was even a third style to it, because I think it really gave it kind of another layer of complexity to the fairly simple just run around and slash stuff kind of gameplay.
Right.
If there were different characters to pick, because actually, now that I remember Hotline Miami, it did this too, where you could get different masks and stuff, and this one does super damage with doors, and this one starts with explosives, and just a bunch of different kind of characters to play as. I think that would do a lot to this game, but it was really good. I am excited for the sequel. There's DLC apparently coming. There's that secret room you unlock that has nothing in it yet. That's cool. I'll play that, but in between game was the perfect way to describe it.
Yep.
Yep, a doozles.
Thumbs up, recommend.
Thumbs up, break. A lot of games this week are like, yeah, it's good.
Well, the last thing I think I want to say is like the story made like at the end of it, I'm like, what does this mean? What does that mean? I'm really thinking about it. And then like I go and I'm curious like what other people are thinking. So there's like discussions and stuff and I go and dive into those. I'm like, holy crap, like these people are super analyzing everything here. I'm like, I'm seeing things I didn't even see at all.
Yeah, didn't even know.
Crazy.
That is cool. Did you do the? There's a point where you can get the good ending and the bad ending. I did the bad ending to see it and stuff like that.
There's two endings? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's like a spot where you have to choose, and you can choose wrong, and it just ends there. It has a little ending there. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, and I thought that might happen, but I didn't know for sure.
Yeah.
Go look that up.
Well, it's not that amazing, but
I know,
it's just
but
another
I know
ending.
still.
No. So let's real quick do the Metacritic games that we do every week. I forgot to have you guys predict the Metacritic scores last week, even though I had them written down. So
It would have been a good one to do it too for Days Gone.
well, we did Days Gone.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, we did Days
shit,
Gone like
yeah, right,
7
yeah,
weeks
we were
ago
a
because
week
I'm an
too early.
idiot.
We were a week too early. Yeah.
Yeah, we're a week too early. So I said 81. Logan said 84. Joe said 89. It's at a 72 right now, which I think is a little low. Like, I'd give it an 8. I know that's not much higher, but 7's a little low. 82's a little low.
Yeah,
This is
some
not-
people really dropped down that score with
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of,
harsh critiques.
like, oh, this is mediocre. I don't think this is mediocre. I just think it's okay in some areas and really good in others. But fine. It's an opinion.
Fine. It's fine.
And I have a game called Fade to Silence that I know nothing about. But that's the only one of relevance I could see on Metacritic for us to predict for next week. I think it might be a JRPG or something.
I'm glad I didn't choose the wrong ending first.
Oh, I did, but I did it on purpose. So I'll tell you what this is. This is a game that was released on PC, and it's a survival whatever game. Do you want to guess this game? Otherwise, we don't have anything to predict.
Then yes.
All right. This is going to be the console score only, not the PC score, which has existed for months.
Is this gonna be one of those games that just doesn't get reviewed?
Yeah, it might be. I mean, who the hell knows, right?
It's very possible.
I'm going to say 67.
$55.
Oof. I think you might be right. It seemed like it had positive
I just have
reviews.
no idea what it is.
70.
There we go. He's going for it. Going for it, folks.
What'd you say, 70?
Yeah.
Well, we'll get back next week and see how.
We're pretty spread out on our scores. I like that. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're 3 points above me, so that's not really.
that's all that matters.
Okay. Anyway, now we will get to play the match the user review to the game. And I picked 3 zombie games this week. Days Gone,
Whoa.
obviously. World War Z, the one that just came out,
Ooh.
and The Last of Us.
Oh.
Like,
Damn, this is gonna be really tough, actually.
Oh yeah.
it's always
Oh,
I make
yeah.
it too hard.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
she
true.
said.
You do make it pretty tough.
And I'm gonna say, Joel, you get to go first.
Okay.
Joel.
Joel. Well, I had to look at the score, and Joel is now losing by 2 games. So
Yeah, dude. Fuck it.
this is a 7 review. If you are coming into this game expecting to be blown away by a complete game, you're going to be disappointed. Nothing revolutionary, gameplay-wise, but nothing misplaced either. Just tried and true elements that feel comfortable, though you can debate whether that's a good thing in a game that's relying on you to be drawn in. If this was a TV show, it's definitely be worthy of a higher score. I don't even know what that means. The story is definitely quite good. The problem is that it's about as interactive as a painting. Is it The Last of Us, World War Z, or Days Gone?
Man, that's fucking hard. I mean, a lot of it sounds like Days Gone, but I'm just gonna go and say The Last of Us.
I'll say Days Gone.
It was The Last of Us. Joel gets the point.
Shit.
Logan, this one
Damn
is
that reviewer.
this
They're
one
wrong.
is for you.
Fucking got you, bro.
This is a 10. I got you, bro. This is a 10. Great game. Definitely potential for being even better than blank. More guns, better graphics, more zombies. Levels are designed well. XP progression system. And that's it. And blank.
Oh.
That's it. That's all I can say. It cuts off. I have to stop the review.
That would be World War Z.
World War Z as well.
It is World War Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although Days Gone does have an XP progression system.
I know that.
Okay.
It was the guns part that sold me on it.
I think
Guns
when I
part?
hear progression now, though, I always think of like games of service.
Sure.
Or games
That's
of,
fair.
Games. What? How do you even say that?
Games as a service.
games as what a stupid thing.
Yeah.
What a stupid phrase.
I'm so mad about it.
What a stupid idea.
What a stupid thing.
Okay, Joel, this is yours. This is a 10. It is an excellent game with a great atmosphere and very funny. Of course, it has small little bugs, which will correct over time. It is fun and entertaining. That is what you are looking for in a video game. I highly recommend it. Even me.
Wow.
World War Z.
Ooh. Days Gone.
It is. Days Gone. We are back to a tie.
How was that game funny? Well, I guess
I don't know. I don't know. Logan, you'll be guessing this one first.
Okay.
This is a 5. The game offers you a solid premise for a game. And the first 10 minutes are great. Just 10 minutes. After that, the game is a shadow of what it could be, becoming highly repetitive and offering new biomes which don't compare to blank. I like their use of biomes, though. And then they go into the cons, which I wanted to bring up one right here. The gunplay is better in Toy Story on PS1. I don't know what that means.
What guns are in Toy Story?
Insult or this fucker has not played anything in between.
It was a pretty weird pull, I
Last
think.
game I played.
I know. Remember Toy Story on PS1? No.
No.
No one does.
But Toy Story 2 on the 64, I love that game.
I never played it. All right, what's your guess?
I said World War Z.
Okay.
Mine will also be World War Z.
It is Days Gone.
No. What?
Days Gone.
That's weird.
It's a strange... Well, these reviews are garbage, so...
Why you do that?
People are garbage.
This
Spoiler
is...
alert.
yeah, people are garbage. This is for Joel. This is a 0. Boring,
Ooh.
buggy, and glitchy. What a waste of money. This is one of the worst games I've ever played in my life. Avoid it or you will regret your purchase. This game is just not fun at all.
Wow.
Days Gone.
God.
That. World War Z.
It is World War Z. Logan's pulling out the lead now.
I love
We
pulling
got
out. So,
one more.
yeah. Just because I find it hard that someone would regret their purchase of Days Gone or Last of Us, but I guess
Yeah.
I could kind of see Days Gone.
I try to do it where it could be
Depending on
two
the
of them.
person.
You know what I mean?
Hate it.
I hate it. This is for Logan, I think. Who knows?
Ooh.
It is you. The last one. This is a 6. If you played The Walking Dead, you can skip this. If not, go play it instead of this. I love that part. The Walking Dead has actual meaningful choices, unlike this game. You pretty much do what the game tells you, and that works for something like blank, but not this game. The Walking Dead
like
set the
most
bar
games.
for the zombie theme, and this game is not even coming close to it. I think they're talking about the show, not even the game. The gameplay itself is even worse. Horrible gunplay, terrible and unreliable stealth mechanics, bad immersion.
Last of Us. Well, yeah.
World War Z.
It was The Last of Us.
Dang.
Yeah.
Logan wins again. I almost said The Last of Us at the very beginning. And I recovered by saying the last score, the last review.
Well, yeah. Well, I instantly thought it was Last of Us because of the stealth mechanics, and I realized that Days Gone has stealth mechanics.
Yeah,
too.
it's heavily stealth.
yeah.
That's why it's a good I like stealth, man. I like stealth. You play Metal Gear Solid 5, you son of a bitch.
Is that a game?
And there's zombies in that game, too.
Why are there zombies in a Metal Gear game? Don't answer that. I know the answer.
Yeah.
It's
Nanomachines. Yeah.
Kohima.
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 Kojima. There we go.
Ew. That's upsetting. That's more disgusting than me chopping that lady in half with the axe.
Oh, you're sick.
All right, this has been Ben's OP Game Show. Recorded live at 8 p.m. Pacific Time, twitch.tv/TheGameFanatics every Sunday.
Weak.
Every Sunday week.
Ooh.
Every week Sunday. Including
Yeah.
Game of Thrones Sundays. Of which we
Oh.
still have a few to go through.
Yep, halfway through.
It's crazy. Halfway through. Wow.